Hello. Today we're going to discuss the third type of situation where reflexive verbs are popular. So far we've discussed daily routines with the verbs such as despertarse, lavarse, peinarse. We've also talked about motion and movement with the verbs irse, moverse and mudarse. And today it's time to get emotional, because we care. Here are the verbs that we're going to discuss today, if you are here just for the list. Otherwise, let's begin. As always, we're going to compare reflexive verbs with their non-reflexive form. That is the form that doesn't have se at the end of it. So the first pair is aburrir versus aburrirse. As you probably know, the verb aburrir means to bore someone or something, but aburrirse means to get bored. That's very important. Aburrirse doesn't mean to bore oneself, as you might have thought initially. The verbs and their translations that we're going to discuss today will have to be memorized. Don't worry though, they are super popular, so you'll be seeing them everywhere. For the examples of aburrir, we have Esta película me aburre. Comer lo mismo todos los días lo aburre. And aburrirse? Ayer me aburrí en el cine. Se aburre mucho en la clase de historia. Now, you're probably thinking, what the hell? Why are we using the reflexive pronoun me if the verb aburrir is not reflexive? First, you have to remember how reflexive pronouns work. For that, let me show you how they are used with the reflexive verb aburrirse. So we've got me aburro, te aburres, se aburre, nos aburrimos, se aburren. I hope you remember that reflexive pronouns have to match the subject they are referring to. As you can see, the reflexive pronoun me can only be used with the first person form of the verb aburrir, which is aburro, not aburre, right? The reason why we see me in esta película me aburre is because here me is a direct object and not a reflexive pronoun. The aburre part we see here doesn't have anything to do with me, because aburre is a third person singular form of the verb aburrir, which can only refer to película and nothing else. So what we're trying to say here is that this movie bores me. I hope I didn't confuse you too much. We'll discuss the concept of direct and indirect objects in detail very soon. Don't worry about it for now. It's okay if you don't understand it completely. I just didn't want you to think that for some reason it's a typo and we have reflexive pronouns everywhere now, even with the normal non-reflexive verbs. We do not. Again, here me is a direct object, and here me is a reflexive pronoun. I know they look the same, and it makes the whole language learning experience confusing, but nobody gives a shit what we think, I can assure you. Good for now? Let's continue. The next pair of verbs is alegrar and alegrarse. Alegrar means to make someone happy or to cheer someone up, and alegrarse is to get happy or to be happy. The examples we have for alegrar are Estamos planeando una fiesta para alegrarla, and nos alegraste mucho con esta noticia. And for alegrarse we have Me alegro de que hayas podido venir. Se alegran de que lo preguntas. Please note that alegrarse is just another way of stating that someone is happy. Se alegra and está feliz both mean the same thing. Don't try to translate alegrarse as to make oneself happy. Even though you kinda can, there's no need for it. It will only confuse you more. Like I said, most of the verbs we're discussing today will have to be memorized. Next in line are verbs asustar and asustarse. Asustar means to scare or frighten, and asustarse means to get scared or to be scared. For asustar we have El ruido me asustó. Enciende una vela para asustar a los demonios. And for asustarse, nos asustamos mucho con la exposición. No te asustes. Next is calmar versus calmarse. Calmar means to calm someone or something down, and calmarse means to calm oneself down. Here is a more traditional pair of normal and reflexive verbs when it comes to translation. The examples of calmar are Una caminata me ayuda para calmar los nervios. Haz algo para calmar a tu perro. And for calmarse we have Si te calmas, podremos hablar. No podemos salir hasta que se calme el mar. As you can see, sometimes these verbs work just the way we discussed in the previous videos, but don't always count on it. Next pair is cansar versus cansarse, which mean respectively to tire and to get tired. Examples are down below. Me cansa estar todo el día en la calle. Al principio se cansaba mucho, pero ya no. Next is casar and casarse, which mean to marry and to get married. What we have is Sara casó con John hace 2 años, and se casaron hace 2 años. Next pair of verbs are divertir and divertirse. Divertir means to amuse, and divertirse means to have fun or to enjoy yourself. For divertir we've got El mago divirtió al grupo de niños, and for divertirse, nos divertimos mucho en nuestro viaje. Next in line are the verbs enamorar and enamorarse. This one is a bit tricky, so bear with me. Enamorar means to make someone fall in love. while enamorarse means to fall in love with each other. Both verbs have something to do with falling in love. For enamorar we have enamoré a mi señorita cuando la vi, como enamorar a tus clientes en redes sociales, and se enamoraron al conocerse. When you see enamoré a mi señorita, your initial thought is to say I fell in love with my señorita when I saw her, but that would be incorrect. The verb enamorar is all about making someone do something, and this something is the action of falling in love. I know it's a lot of words. So when we say enamoré, that means I made someone fall in love with me, and that someone is mi señorita. Another example says how to make your clients fall in love, and not how to fall in love with your clients. It's tricky, I know. With the reflexive version, everything is much simpler. You just say they fell in love when they met each other. To be honest, now that I think about it, you're gonna see enamorarse much more often than enamorar, but it's good to understand the difference. You'll get there. El próximo par de verbos es enojar y enojarse. Enojar significa to anger someone or to make someone angry, mientras enojarse significa to get angry. Los ejemplos que tenemos son la mala calidad del césped enojó a los futbolistas y ese profesor se enoja muy fácil. Aquí creo que todo tiene sentido. No parece nada especial. Next pair is... Oh, fuck. I know you're tired, but we're almost there, okay? Just 3 more. Next pair is preocupar and preocuparse. The first means to worry, in a sense like something worries me. And the second means to worry as well, but in the meaning to get anxious. The examples are: Nos preocupan los animales que vimos en la calle, and mi papá se preocupa de todo. On your first week of learning Spanish, you probably learned the phrase no te preocupes, and you were told that it means don't worry. You were told not to think about what te means. Just remember the phrase and cállate la puta boca. Now I hope you can see that all that fucking phrase is a reflexive version of the verb preocupar, where te is a reflexive pronoun. Look at you, being so smart. Next verbs are sentir and sentirse. Again, an interesting thing to discuss. Both sentir and sentirse mean to feel, and when you wanted to talk about your feelings, you were told to say me siento bien, for example, which is a reflexive version of the verb sentir. So what the hell is sentir without the se, you ask? Basically, sentir without the se is not used to validate your internal feelings so that you could share them on Twitter and cause a rampage. It's used to say how you feel or think about a certain thing. Meanwhile, sentirse is a Twitter version of feelings. God, I hate Twitter. Alright, let's jump to examples. For sentir we have puedo sentir el latido de mi corazón, or siento que mi hermano va a regalarme su coche. Notice that we're not talking about your internal feelings here. When you use sentir without se, you have to follow up with a description of what's going on. It can be both mental or physical experience. Now let's compare it with sentirse. Me siento siempre cansado, or me siento muy feliz porque voy a ver a mi señorita pronto. Feel the difference? Experiences? Feelings. The last damn pair of verbs for today is sorprender and sorprenderse. This isn't a rocket science at this point. Sorprender means to surprise someone, and sorprenderse means to be surprised. Examples are: sus amigos la sorprendieron con una fiesta de cumpleaños, and me sorprendí cuando la vi en el supermercado. Hope that makes sense. Alright, so how are you feeling? We've covered a lot of verbs today, I understand, but they are widely used, so you'll be seeing them all the time. It's good for you to be able to recognize them. You should have noticed a couple of patterns here and there, like for example that usually non-reflexive versions of these verbs, they have something to do with performing an action on someone or something, while reflexive versions, they kind of reflect how you feel. That's kind of the point of reflexive verbs. And just when it comes to translation, you may notice that it's weird to say to bore oneself, for example. It's just not how we say it in English. We're gonna say I am bored or I feel bored, something like that. The more you expose yourself to the language, the faster you will develop this feeling that everything is gonna be okay and you're not as dumb as your teacher tells you. If you were looking for a daily dose of motivation, here it is. Close YouTube right now, because I know it was not the first video you watched today. Go for a walk. Take a couple of deep breaths and realize that you have the opportunity to learn one of the most useful and beautiful languages in the world. Fuck French. And once you're back and still have questions, watch the video again, or feel free to make a comment about my face. Other than that, all the links are in the description. Thank you for watching.